Hello fellow humans, and I want to talk about why tank stats are the biggest lie in World of Tanks Blitz. And there's a very good example for that, and that is the RLV-39. And one of my members can't stop requesting this, so if you want to torture me with bad tanks, the join button's down there. Now the first funny thing about this vehicle, this is a tier 7 gun, but it is worse than this tier 6 gun. And let's have a look on this vehicle on paper. Right, we have very good counter rating, we have excellent DPM, we have good penetration, we have 310 alpha damage, which is pretty damn good for tier 6. We also got good accuracy, the aim times the half-life of uranium, and you only have 6 degrees of gun depression and only 7 degrees left and right. However, again, the average speed is pretty good. So on paper, this doesn't look like one of the worst tier 6s of all time. However, it is, together with the Cheeto. How does that happen? Well, that has something to do with you. And with you, I don't mean you. I mean, unless you have to play this thing, at which point, my condolences. I'm very, very sorry for you having to go through this. The thing is, the player has a way bigger influence on a tank than the stats of that tank. Now, obviously, something like a Smasher, something like an Annihilator, are going to perform well pretty much no matter what happens. However, an extremely bad player in a Smasher is still not gonna suddenly become very good. And an average player in a vehicle like this is also going to struggle. First thing you can see right there, you can't peak dynamically because of the aim time. Just look at it. And you're not supposed to do that, mate. So playing this thing sort of dynamically is a very bad idea, and it shouldn't be done. Now, I'm going to do it here anyway just to prove a point, but it can be done. However, if you do it, you're going to need to be a pretty good player to pull that off. Because obviously, if you're trying to aim for half an hour, that is not going to end very well in most cases. So you have a tank here that technically on paper looks pretty solid. However, if you want to use all these performance metrics that it has, that requires quite a bit of skill, especially with a vehicle like this, because I haven't talked about the armor yet. What about the armor? It doesn't have any armor, and it is very clumsy to play. Which means you have no armor on this vehicle, which means that wherever you go, everyone will pen you without any condition. And while you can, in a light tank, you can swoop around and you have a turret and you can be dynamic and stuff like that, you can't do that in this vehicle. Which means you're most likely confined to the back of the map in a camping position. Now, I'm not. However, the problem is with a tank like that it is most likely never going to do well at that point. Because the average player is someone that makes quite a lot of mistakes in Blitz. And the more mistakes you make, the worse it'll be, obviously. And a tank that is as clumsy as this vehicle is simply not good at coping with any form of mistake. It will go very badly. Very quickly. And again, most maps aren't really designed for a tank like this one. You need long range, and you need a lot of camping, which you can't do on a map like this, and you can't do on the previous map either. Which means you end up in a situation where, on paper, it looks pretty damn good, but there is no way to actually translate that into reality. Look at the stats informed, right? Think about what they mean, right? Just because a tank has an extremely good gun, the Stura Emil has an extremely good gun. What does it translate to? For example, the RU2F1 has excellent mobility, but can you use that mobility wisely? Just because a tank has a certain set of features doesn't mean that it will be effective in-game. So make yourself aware of what the tank is capable of doing, and then also think about what you're capable of doing as well. Do you have enough map knowledge to play a vehicle like this, for example? Because if you don't know where to put a tank like this, the pretty good gun isn't going to help you much. I mean, if you can hit something with this thing, obviously, because the aim time doesn't exist. So, I mean, if you have an aim time that is longer than the half-life of uranium, yeah, you're not gonna have a great time. But it can work if you just do the right thing with it. Now, I don't want this video to be a guide on this vehicle, because here's the thing. the guide on this tank would be very simple. Get some free XP and skip it. That's my guide to this vehicle. However, just if you're thinking and if you're deciding to get a new tank, don't just look at the stats. Also think about what those stats actually mean for you. Think, are you actually good at this type of vehicle? If you've never played a light tank before, should you immediately buy a tier 8 light tank? Just jump right into it. Maybe not. Maybe, if you go AFK or if you have a bad connection, maybe it might be beneficial to get a secure connection first. Or, don't play the game when your mama's making dinner. Because then you're going to have great food, but your teammates are going to be mad at you because you left. Just as a side note. So, think about it. What the stats mean for you. Because they can mean wildly different things depending on the kind of player that you are. A vehicle that is extremely powerful, like a Leopard 1. It might not be powerful in your hands. If you enjoy tank destroyers, and if you so far only play tank destroyers, are you going to be good with that light tank? Think about it. Or do you even enjoy that light tank? Because the goal of Blitz is not to get every tank. No. That is absolutely not the goal of Blitz. The goal of Blitz is to have fun. To have fun, to enjoy yourself, to have a good time. So think about what type of tank that you're actually going for. Because there is no reason to look at a tank and be like, oh, this has a great gun. Like this one. And then you research it and you find out it's a complete pile of garbage. So, think about it. And maybe don't always just look at what's right in front of you. And maybe look at what does that actually mean. That's it. Hope it was a good inspiration, I'd say. And now, I will never play this vehicle ever again. So to very simply conclude, don't pick a tank by its stats. However, pick it by how you can work with those stats. Now, while yes, something like a Smasher is an exception to that, most tanks work by this rule, that even if a tank does look incredibly good, it might still not be the tank for you. So consider, what tanks do you play? What tanks are you good at? You can see that yourself. And make a picture yourself. Don't just always follow everyone else, because I have different preferences to you. I don't know what tanks you like. The only thing I can do is show things from my perspective. So with that said, thanks for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.